Welcome to The Other Side, Beyond the Looking Glass. We're a spinoff of the popular podcast Through the Looking Glass, continuing meaningful conversations with a focus on solutions. Join us as we dive below the surface, openly addressing trauma, barriers, communication, and cultural factors that impact relationships. We aim to build understanding, provide resources, and cultivate healthier connections. While our topics can help all, our primary focus will be on the communities of color. So let's explore Wonderland beyond the looking glass as we uncover paths to healthier bonds, healing, and a more authentic you. Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 2 of Wonderland Beyond the Looking Glass. And as promised from the initial episode that we closed out last week, this episode we're going to be talking about divorces and people on both sides. If you are dating after a divorce, or you're dating somebody who's been divorced, or it's a mutual divorcee relationship, right? Both parties have been divorced. All three of these come with different challenges. So we're going to just jump in because we do want to honor the 30 minutes we have with you all. And first, let's go around really quick to see how everybody's been doing and a little quick mental health checks, starting with Keisha. How you doing, Keisha?
I am doing great. I'm doing really, really good. It's been a great week. So I'm doing good. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing fantastic. That was on my word calendar for the day.
You have a word of the day, and the best you can come up with was fantastic. That's like a third grade word.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I got to start somewhere,
right? This week has been busy, and yeah, that's all I can say. I can't complain. Can't complain. Good stuff. Halloween was great, wonderful, amazing. We accomplished a lot.
Yes, we did.
Divorces. A lot of people with divorces, that word is a bad word for so many. I remember I was at an event and we were doing some type of, I don't know, group project, icebreaker thing. And the question was asking about spouses or whatever. And I said, well, I'm recently divorced. And the lady was like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I'm like, I'm not. I mean, and so my whole thing is like, okay, why is it automatically seen as negative? There's different reasons why people get divorced, right? And sometimes it's a good thing. It's a better thing. It's the better option. Now, there's a lot of religious factors that can go in it. I was brought up Catholic, and that's a no-no. Like, you're literally married to the first person you're married with, and you have to get an annulment for it not to be there. So I was brought up with that teaching. However, yeah, it just didn't work out for reasons. So that can bring into some behavior changes, right? Challenges, trust challenges and things of that nature. And I'm 100% transparent. I am somebody who's divorced. So I have a lived experience with it. Keisha and Chris, when you hear the word divorce, like, what are some words that automatically come up, or emotions that are elicited through that conversation?
I mean, when I hear the word divorce, it's like I don't know. I think years ago it was kind of like almost like a bad word, but now you hear it so often. Now it's like it doesn't even flip. It doesn't register anything with me. It's just okay. It's just they were with somebody, they're no longer with
them. For me, years ago, when you heard the word divorce, it was like broken, used goods. You're stuck, like you can't remarry. It was just like beyond just, it was almost like you're not worthy. But these days and time, when I hear divorce, it's sometimes it's you didn't put up enough of a fight to keep it, or and I know I'm giving more than just a word, or it's freedom, it's peace, you know. So those are some words that some things I've heard.
In your opinions, why do you think the divorce rate is so high? I'm speaking specifically in the US because we do have listeners elsewhere. But why do we think, or, why the divorce rate is so high?
Because people always think it's something better out there, and it's like, okay, this is fine, and I was okay with this, but now I want better, and it might be better out there. And everybody, I mean, I just nowadays with social media and everything, you always think that something could be better.
Right. And I think sometimes people use dating almost like, I mean, not dating, they use marriage as if you're dating. It's like, okay, I'm in this for a while. Oh, we're growing apart. Oh, I can't do this anymore. It's like the reasons people, and I'm biblical a lot. So, per what, and I'm not pushing religion on anyone, but per what the Bible says, what makes it okay to get a divorce in comparison to people in these days and time who are looking at, oh, we're just growing apart. It's a difference. So I think that's what's definitely a big factor in it right now. People are not the marriage piece. They're actually operating as if it's a relationship, which it is a relationship, but dating versus this is my forever person. It's I may say you my favorite person. We may do these vows, but you don't have to be my forever person.
Mm-hmm.
Next. So
And I think a lot of it too has to do with not doing your due diligence on the front end, right? Not vetting the individual, not, going off of what that initial emotion is. And I know I might get some slack for this, but I'm thinking of it as a business transaction. So I'm not looking just as that person, but who is their family? What's going on in their inner circle? Is this somebody that I want to do a merger with? Because you're pulling all of their stuff into your stuff. You're associating whatever you have going on with them. And a lot of times in the beginning, people are operating in emotion and not the logic piece. Like, okay, I can have these feelings for you. I can have all the checkbox, whatever I see. However, let's think of this long term. Is this going to work long term? And how is it going to work? Like, if you're somebody who likes to party and drink and everything else, that's not me. I might be attracted to you. I might be all the things that, to get that initial relationship started. But going into something permanent like a marriage, if you don't do that due diligence and vet in the beginning, you can find yourself waking up next to somebody and be like, you know what? This sucks. I don't want to be here anymore. And then we are really in this throwaway culture where, some states you can do it immediately. South Carolina, you got to wait a whole year. You got to be separated for a year. But still, the option of it not being an option is no longer an option. I think too, back in the day, divorce was just not an option. So now it's a situation of, well, I don't like you, you don't like me, so let's go to the courthouse and get this thing taken care of. Like you said, Keisha, it's more of a dating type of thing. Because I know now, if I do that again, I don't give a dang what's going on. If you got to live in a whole nother house, like I'm not going through this again. I'm not going through another divorce. So you have to go through that whole process of thinking of it as a business merger. Like, what's my return on investment here?
right.
And not be surprised if you didn't do that work on the front end and be like, I don't even know this person. You know what I'm saying? Like, have you all ever had an experience where somebody's like getting a divorce and they're telling you that, we grew apart? Mm, that's possible. But I think some of it too is, did you really know the person to the level that you really probably should have before you did it, or were you acting on emotion? Like that's when you get those drunk Las Vegas weddings, right? Like Elvis is getting married. I don't even know this dude's last name.
Right.
So, what are some challenges you think first going into dating as somebody who's been divorced? Like, what are some challenges that either you all have experienced or you've seen friends and family experience going into relationships after a divorce?
First and foremost, getting into something too soon.
Right.
I mean, and I know that probably happens. That's probably most common. Whereas, like, okay, this person, let's say the divorce is finalized, and within 4 or 5 months, they're in a new relationship. Or sometimes when it's they might still be in the separation period that you mentioned. In that separation period, and they're right in a relationship. That rarely works out. Those relationships rarely works out. Mainly is because they haven't really given themselves time to analyze what just happened. They're just kind of moving forward, and then without taking in what they just went through and what just ended.
So would you say, Chris, they didn't take the time to pretty much heal from that relationship before moving forward into the next one? That's pretty much what you're saying, like the healing
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, healing. I mean, not like healing from the relationship, just like understanding what happened. Like I said, understanding what happened in that relationship. Because if, like, let's say, and it doesn't even have to be a marriage and a relationship, but when that relationship ended, knowing why it ended. Because if you know why, and then accept the accountability for it, then you wouldn't have to worry about that happening in the next relationship you jump into.
Right. And I think it's important too, especially when you don't take the time to identify your part in the divorce
Mm-hmm.
before you move on to the next relationship, because um, these issues tend to pop up, different faces, same issues. So I think that plays a part in it too.
So, what are some things to look for? So, as somebody who's going into a relationship or even thinking about getting back out there, right? So, let's say, Chris is saying people jumping out too soon. So, what is a solution or a fix for people not jumping in too soon? Let's start there.
Okay. I would say if you can clearly identify your faults as well as um, your previous mate's fault from that divorce, if you can clearly identify that, meaning if someone was to say to you, okay, so tell me what went wrong and what was your part in it. If all you can see is 100% what that other in your eyes, what that other person did, then clearly I feel this is an indicator that you may not be ready to enter another relationship with someone just yet. You need to be able to see your faults in the relationship because everybody plays a role.
What about you, Chris? What do you think?
You know what advice I have for the person, what I think the person. I mean, like, just man, when you just sit your ass down, just chill for a little bit, and just kind of be by yourself. Be by yourself. Learn yourself. Love yourself. That way, okay. Once you then have that self love, now you're able to go out and find love to give to somebody else, and also know how to receive their love as well.
Right, right.
So yeah, so just sit down for a while.
Chill out. And another indicator that you might not be ready to jump back out there is when you think back to the previous relationship, it gets you just as mad as it did when you were in it. Because you can fall into projecting, you can fall into another person having to deal with what issues you haven't healed from. So the taking the time in that space to heal is imperative. But we also know there's people who are not individuals who want to do that. So for individuals who they find it very difficult for whatever reason, right? A lot of people just don't want to sit with their pain. What are some things that we can tell individuals that could be helpful for people who don't want to sit in their pain, who don't want to do the work, who don't want to learn themselves? What would you tell them? What are some suggestions that we can give
To help them out or let them know what
to help them out?
they.
Like, yeah, to
I
help.
mean, I mean, you can't help someone that's not willing to help themselves. Like the whole, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. Same, I mean, it's the
Right.
same thing. Like, like I want to help you, but if you don't want to help you,
But what
then
if they
everything.
want what if they want the help, but they just don't want to sit in that, or they're scared
So
or whatever reason?
okay, so with that right there, you have to kind of just give it to them like little by. You can't put too much on them at one time, and you just gotta kind of just slow walk it to when they get to that final stage. I mean, like I said, that right there could take some time, but let them go at their own pace, and then just try to find out what works for them, and it may be something unique. Everyone's unique.
And what about you, Keisha? I have a technique that I tell clients to do, but do you have any techniques that you work with individuals who have come out of a relationship and they want to jump into the next thing and not do the healing, ways that they can sit with it, sit with what happened?
I pretty much talk to them about layers of healing, layers of, okay, if you don't take the time out to heal from your current relationship, you add another layer on top. And before you know it, you will hit an explosive moment where all of that hurt, pain, anger, whatever emotions that you didn't deal with from that relationship, it will happen. And just imagine having an explosion and the best relationship you have ever been in. And this is actually the one. And because you did not take the time all out to deal with those different layers of healing, because you decided to move on too soon, it is going to happen. It's going to happen. And the thing about that is, I've seen it happen several times. Not only with dealing with clients, friends, family, but even with myself in different situations where, and it's just, it's not a time, you can't plan it, it just happens. And could you imagine being in the best relationship ever with the person, your mate that's for you? This person had no idea, and then you have your moment.
Right.
So to prevent that from happening, it's important that you deal with it. Go ahead on and deal with whatever hurt and pain that you're feeling, because finding the next person to be with, thinking that it's going to take you away from dealing with that hurt and pain, that's a temporary fix.
Right.
Very temporary.
And I tell individuals, you have to learn yourself again. Who were you
Right.
before that relationship? What music did you listen to? What did you do for fun? Who were your friends? Who were you? And kind of going back to what Chris said too, learn yourself. And it's a relearning. It's a relearning, honestly, because you want to go back to your core essence of who you are, but understanding that you're a different person now. And what Keisha said, you don't want all the issues with distrust, or just, being standoffish and things of that nature to inhibit you from moving forward out of fear of learning who you are and being okay with it, loving yourself first, right? Or just you're scared that you're going to end up in a crappy situation again. And all of those play a role in how you are seen and how you handle and move forward in relationships. So again, learn yourself, get to know who you are again, and give yourself time. Like, I know people are like, take yourself on a date. Look, I date myself so much, like it's gonna be hell for somebody to come and take my spot in my life because I date myself so much. Like they would have to be amazing to have to, collaborate with me, right? We don't want somebody to complete you. It's a collaboration. And um, so the next area is people who are in a relationship with people who have been divorced and what challenges you might see. So, because Chris is putting on a show for us, um, what are some challenges you think people might run into when you are dating somebody who's recently out of a divorce or just been divorced?
I would say trust. Trust may be the number one thing. Trusting that person with your heart. Um, just, put your walls back down and being open to something new, you know. So that's what I think. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, like now it all depends on how long they've been divorced as well. Because I mean, there's different stages. Um, can I go through the three stages?
Go right ahead.
Okay. So the first stage is like the newly just fresh out of divorce. So you got that right there. Let's say anywhere from like a couple months to maybe a year. And then so they're like fresh in the divorce, so then they still may be harboring these old feelings from the previous marriage, however it ended. Then you've got kind of the middle range where it's like a year to maybe 3, 4 years, where it's like they're kind of open to the idea, but then they're kind of nervous with like fully committing. And then once you've been like divorced for a while, and then this is the people who have fell in love with themselves. Those they just they're harder to get to because like they're at peace and the slightest thing that comes and going to disturb their peace just a little bit they can't deal with it. So those are like the three stages of and being involved with somebody that's been divorced depending on how long it was.
So then the question is for individuals in your three stages, what would be some suggestions you would give to people who are looking at that person as a potential based on the stages that that person's in?
Having just having
Would
patience
you
and then
even
just hey
recommend
like
dating somebody in stage 1 though?
no. I mean, not saying that they. I mean, nah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. Mm-mm. Because I mean, I'm just saying, as a guy, and Keisha talked about it. I know I'm probably going to have to fight some battles that I know nothing about, but it was from the previous guy, her ex-husband, and now I'm having to fight battles that he started, and like that's like the worst thing ever, having to get over an obstacle and you know nothing about it. You don't know how to maneuver around it because it's like all foreign to you.
Right.
I wouldn't suggest.
Okay.
Do
How
not
about
recommend.
stage 2?
Stage two, yeah, because stage two, you can kind of, that's just all about making the person feel comfortable with me. Like, it might take a little while, but just kind of bringing down the walls one by one and then having that person feel so comfortable. Okay, now they're willing to fully commit to me.
And stage, hold on. Was that supposed to be
That was
stage
stage
2?
two. That was
So what
stage two.
about stage 3?
The stage three is tread very lightly in this stage because, like I said, you know whatever you do, the smallest thing, you might not reply to a text in a reasonable time. It could be 5 minutes. Next thing you know, you're blocked. It could be you didn't call them back, or when you said you was gonna call them back, and at the first time, it's okay, boom, and it's like yeah, but those people, and I don't like to say that those people who are in that situation, yeah, that sounds way better than those people. Whew. It's I don't know what it is. They're just in their own world. And it's nothing wrong with that, but it's like they're if they let somebody in that world, then you real special because they're not going to let many people in that world.
Would you agree with what he's saying, Keisha?
Somewhat. Yeah. I can see where he's coming
And I think a key to all of that is communication.
from. Yeah.
Always communication,
Yeah,
always key.
if you are not able to communicate with whoever the potential person is, then that really should not be your person. I've worked with couples where the communication was horrible, and I'm just confused at how we even got here, right? So my suggestion, again, I'm not going to tell you who and when and how to date. It's everybody's own individual choice. But once you see something, say something, right? Once you experience something or start to notice something, address it right when you see it, because it could be a miscommunication, it could be a misunderstanding. Um, and don't let it just build up and build up and build up. And then when you have your explosion, like Keisha mentioned earlier, it's too late. We can't
Mhm.
back up out of it. And when you have partners, both people are divorced, you're going to have different situations, right? Especially depending on, like Chris gave the 3 levels, where they're coming at it and how that previous relationship ended. A lot of people are saying, well, I don't want to ask them about this, that. You better ask, because you're going to be dealing with it if you know it or not. So that's where that communication comes in. What were some of the issues in your previous relationship? How did it end? And here's a big thing to consider too. I'm not going to call it a red flag because people overuse that word so much, but one thing to consider: if the person is not taking accountability for anything, you need to be very concerned about that. If
Right.
the issue is the other person, 100%, you're going to want to be concerned about that. How they talk about that person around you, what they call them, and things of that nature, you need to be concerned about that. So these are areas that you need to look at, or you should be watching when you're going into a relationship after a divorce, be it the person who went through the divorce, dating somebody who went through one, or you're in the mutual divorce type of situation. So as we round out our time, are there any suggestions that either one of you have to tell individuals who are going into the dating pool, which sucks, after the divorce, or somebody who's interested in dating somebody who's been divorced? What are some suggestions or helpful tips you can say?
Uh, don't do it.
Wow.
Good luck.
Don't do it. I ain't saying good luck because you need
I'm
more than luck.
good luck.
You need more than luck. Just don't do it, man. It's man, this sucks.
Mm.
Well, dating after the dating after divorce can be definitely challenging. Can definitely be challenging. So I would say, okay, good luck. Don't give up. Of course, if you're dating after divorce, don't give up. There is hope. For those who are dating someone who was divorced, make sure that your person is aware of their identity now as a divorced person. When I say aware of their identity, make sure they're aware of what their wants are at this time in life. What's their desires? If they can't tell you these things and the answer is, I don't know, those are red flags. Like they need to know where they are. And all of that is going back to going through the healing piece, making sure that mentally, and for some physically, if they've been in an abusive relationship, they're in a better headspace and ready to move forward. So if you're dating someone, especially if it's someone who's never been married, and you're dating someone who have been married, you need to make sure that your mate is ready. Make sure.
Right,
And be
right.
understanding that this is someone who's been married before, and I mean, I hate to say it, but they got the upper hand when it comes down to that because they've already experienced it, whether their experience was good, bad, or whatever. Because some people are not just divorced, they may have lost a mate may have passed away. So that is still someone who's encountered a marriage prior to um, the person that they're either involved with now, whether it's going to end in a marriage or not. So just being aware of that, and sometimes it's bonuses with dealing with someone who's been married before. A lot of people I've came in contact with who have been married before and they're dating now, they're dating with a purpose. They know for the most part, the ones who's healed and ready, they know what they want, and they're just not going to settle for foolishness. They won't stick around for it.
And I agree with all of that. I would just say move at your own pace,
Mm-hmm.
heal at your own pace. Don't feel you have to live up to a standard. Don't feel you have to move at somebody else's timeline. You know what you can and cannot tolerate, and do the work. If you, one thing I've learned, um, and it was one of those issues with accountability and all that good stuff is, I kept attracting emotionally unavailable people, and I kept being told, well, because you're emotionally unavailable, and I'm like, God, that doesn't make sense. But I was, and there's elements of me that probably still are. So the challenge is to find out why, right? You can have people tell you you're emotionally unavailable all day. That's a part of doing the work. Why are you? Is it because you're hurt? Is it because you're scared? Or is it because, for whatever reason? Because if you're saying, I want to go into a relationship now, the time is now, it's not fair to the other person or somebody else to pull them into your stuff when you still have stuff you need to resolve. And I think and I tell people all the time, dating comes responsibilities, and there's karma that has to be paid. If you pull somebody into a situation you know you're not ready for, or you have no intention on doing or being that person that they're looking for, even if they've told you, that's never going to end well. So definitely communicate, do the work, be honest with yourself, work on your timeline. And Chris said good luck. uh and Keisha said, just have an awareness. No, I'm sorry, Chris
No,
did not say
Keisha
good
said
luck.
good luck.
Keisha said good luck. Chris said don't do it.
Don't do it. And I even go back and say just don't get divorced.
That's a whole
Yeah.
nother conversation. Why the
Yeah.
hell would somebody want to stay in a relationship that's dead?
If it's not serving you, then
Right,
no.
or abusive? Like, what are you saying right now?
Are you saying don't get the divorce because you feel like, is it for the people who may be using marriage as a new way of dating?
Yeah. Like, I
Or
mean,
is this your
that's what,
personal
yeah.
hang up?
You said what?
I said, or is this your personal hang up? And
Oh no.
we're at our 30 minutes, so this is gonna be
Yeah.
after record. But
Yeah, we got it.
I literally would never tell somebody don't get a divorce. Like, dude,
I'm,
people run and get married. So especially in military culture, we get married just to get out the damn dorms. So to tell somebody don't get a divorce like that, I think that's irresponsible, because you don't know why people are getting a divorce. So I'm saying, if this is your own hang up, that's different. Like, okay, I'm sorry about your divorce, but I wouldn't tell.
wow.
I'm being a good person today.
No, you're not.
So yeah, divorce can be complicated, but a relationship with somebody who has been divorced doesn't have to be. So do your due diligence and listen to the suggestions that were made during this episode. And as always, you guys, take care, stay safe, and be well.